And a very good evening to you and welcome to Breaking Today. Of course, this is the last day of the month. Welcome to Breaking Today. My name is Frederick Muitiriri. My sign language interpreter tonight is Michael Maithia. Earlier today, we had a presidential debate in the U.S. We'll be giving you the highlights of that particular debate. But for now, the highlights here in Kenya. KNH health workers suspend strike after a meeting with the hospital management.
Jaribu kusema sijui deputy president hajafanya.
Deputy President William Ruto hits back at Jubilee Vice Chairman David Murathe over his sentiments on his duties and responsibilities. And 2 people die in a drinking bar after the government eased some of the containment measures in bars and restaurants. Welcome to the broadcast. You can talk to me via our SMS line. That is 111 444 111. That is on 111 444 111. Now, Kenyatta National Hospital workers have called off their strike after a meeting with the hospital management, which resolved to call off the strike, which was in line with a ruling by the Employment and Labor Relations Court suspending the strike pending the hearing of a case filed by the hospital. Secretary General Seth Panyako of KNUN has said union leaders had come to a consensus to change tack and will hence resort to court processes. Earlier today, Salaries and Remuneration Commission had distanced itself over the squabbles, saying they had reviewed the workers' salaries 3 years ago. Harriet Chimea with the report.
After 3 days of carrying placards, dancing, downing their tools, and shouting no pay, yes strike, they have now put their vocals down, suspending the strike following the Kenya's Labour Court ruling.
So hiyo kazi tutaendelea kufanya because the struggle continues. It is just that we are changing tack. Now, I can say this, nyinyi wote mko hapa, Njeru wako hapa, Seth ako hapa. Tumefanya uamuzi kwamba sisi target yetu ni hiyo pesa yenu yenye iko hapa, si ndio? Ya kulipo salary ya 7.
KMPDU Secretary General Chibanzi Mwachonda has called off the strike as per court order, although assuring the resumption of strike if their grievances are not addressed. Justice Maureen Onyango ordered the more than 5,000 workers back to work pending hearing. Unions representing nurses, doctors and the hospital support staff have been directed to appear in court on 6th of October.
Kwa hivyo sisi tunasema sisi hatuna vita na management ya Kenyatta, sivyo? Yes. Hatuna vita na Wizara ya Afya, sivyo? Yes. Hatuna vita na Ministry ya Treasury, sivyo? Yes. Hatuna vita na Parliament, sivyo? Yes. Hatuna vita na Wizara ya Labor, sivyo? Yes. Hatuna vita na ofisi ya Rais, sivyo? Yes. Lakini tunaomba Rais ahakikishe achukue jukumu lake kama baba wa taifa. Na ahakikishe hizo hela zimefanya nini?
In a statement, the Salaries and Remunerations Commission said that it undertook a job evaluation and determined the relative worth of jobs at Kenyatta National Hospital in 2017. The commission said that members of staff at KNH have already benefited from salary increase for the remuneration review cycle 2017-2018 to 2020-2021.
This is a war against SRC. And this is just an example of how workers in this country, in the public sector, are frustrated by the Salaries and Remuneration Commission.
Following the workers' 3-day strike over delayed payment of revised salaries and allowances, the union officials have given Kenyatta National Hospital management a 3-week ultimatum to give a way forward. Their jobs will now be re-evaluated by the Salaries and Remunerations Commission in bid to address emerging issues. Harriet Chimea, Switch TV.
Switching to politics, Deputy President William Ruto has answered back his critics who claim that he is on his way out of the Jubilee government after neglecting his duties. Speaking at his current residence, Ruto has said that he has discharged his mandate with distinction and asked its critics to focus on their own responsibilities given to them by the Jubilee government. Wellington Ojwang with more.
Deputy President William Ruto has today defended his record in the Jubilee administration, saying that he has discharged every duty and responsibility allocated to him by the president with distinction.
Kila wajibu rais wa Kenya ameniassign akaniambia, William, mimi nataka ufanye hii. He can confirm there is no assignment the President of Kenya has given to me that I have not discharged with distinction.
Dr. Ruto took a swipe at Jubilee Vice Chairman David Murathe and Kenny MP Kanini Kega, who yesterday claimed that his duties were taken over by the Interior and National Coordination Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i, and that he was planning to leave the Jubilee government after neglecting his duties.
That he's not assigned work. You know, his work was taken over by Matiang'i, because Matiang'i is the minister coordinating other ministers. So the things he used to do nowadays are done by Matiang'i. He has cabinet committees every Tuesday, all right? And then they have the full cabinet every Thursday.
Hawa watu wengine wanajifanya manyapara, wanajaribu kusema sijui deputy president hajafanya. Wewe umejiappoint kuwa nyapara ya deputy president, na wewe umechaguliwa kufanya kazi. Uende ufanye kazi yako ile umechaguliwa kufanya. Kazi yako sio kuwa nyapara yangu.
On their side, the MPs who accompanied several women groups who had called on the deputy president at his residence have asked the president to dissolve the parliament as advised by the Chief Justice David Maraga.
Chief Justice Maraga ameambia Uhuru Kenyatta dissolve nini? Parliament. Na hata mimi nasimama hapa leo mbele yenu nikisema amechelewa. Inafaa angekuwa amedissolve last week. Turudi kwa elections, mupige kura, na turudi ndani.
Deep State, I want to warn them, and I will keep warning them every other single day, that Kenya belongs to Kenyans. It does not belong to individual. And individual vendetta in interest is nowhere in the doors of the Republic of Kenya.
Uongozi wa Hustler Nation haujaanza juu ukateremka. Uongozi wa Hustler Nation umeanza chini ukapanda. That is the leadership that we want.
Ruto has been on the spot after skipping the national COVID-19 conference presided over by President Uhuru Kenyatta at KICC, raising further speculations that the number 2 could be an isolated man. Wellington Ojwang, Switch TV.
NC party leader Musalia Mudavadi has cautioned Kenyans against getting into the trap of politics of deceit and deception ahead of the 2022 general elections, reiterating that politicians should sell their policies to Kenyans other than using the language and tactics of handouts. Speaking at a meeting with a section of clergy from the Friends Quakers Church, the ANC presidential aspirant has emphasized that the need for Kenyans to think of a general approach towards getting a long-lasting solutions, especially for the predominant youth population in this country, other than subjecting the youth to theatrics and handouts, without providing solutions that will lead to creation of jobs and increased opportunities for investments.
What happens? Beyond the wheelbarrow, what next? Beyond the water tank, what next? I'm not saying people should not get tools here and there, but it must be beyond that. Ladies and gentlemen, where those wheelbarrows come from, at some stage, the politician who is dishing out will need compensation. Hey, mnanichezea, mimi nilipofanya hivyo, mlikuwa nafikiri nilikuwa natoa wapi? Now, what shape does the compensation or recovery take? It normally takes the shape of increased corruption or increased taxation, because somebody somewhere will be saying, I spent my money and now now that I've gotten into a position of authority, I must find a way of recovery. Unajua, the way we are seeing young men being taken here and there, you saw even politicians having things called a rescue team. My friend, this is not a simple rescue team. Vile tunaona watu wanabebana as if it's a simple rescue team. This is going to be a serious undertaking to turn the economy around, to stop the hemorrhage of the debt.
Now, from Musalia Mudavadi, ANC party leader. Now, let's shift focus just a little bit to the U.S. politics where, earlier this morning, there was a presidential debate. And that was between the vice president, former vice president, American President Donald Trump and Democratic nominee Joe Biden. They clashed in one of the most chaotic presidential debates in years amid the upcoming presidential election slated for this November. The Republican and Democrats discussed issues concerning the COVID-19 outbreak, the economy, race, the candidates' records, the climate change, and the integrity of the elections. Daniel Kariuki explained how the first in 3 debates went down after the two consistently interrupted each other at the 90-minute debate.
In a show of expectation and anticipation, the world and Americans watched and heard as Biden called Trump a clown and would repeatedly ask Trump to shut up. Trump, however, defended himself by bringing up the issue of drug use by Biden's son.
Will you shut up, man? Listen, who is on your list, Joe? Who's on your list?
Right. Gentlemen, I think
this
we've
is
ended
so
this.
He's going to pack the court.
We have
not going to give a list.
We have ended this segment. We're going to move on to the second segment.
Biden criticized Trump's handling of the coronavirus pandemic over his alleged failure to produce a healthcare plan and his response to protest over racial injustice. Trump says the vaccine process is political, mocked Biden for wearing a mask and instead a robust defense on his record. He sought to claim hypothetical President Biden would have done worse.
We got the gowns, we got the masks, we made the ventilators. You wouldn't have made ventilators, and now we're weeks away from a vaccine. We're doing therapeutics already. Fewer people are dying when they get sick. Far fewer people are dying.
What did he do? He's on tape as acknowledging he knew it. He said he didn't tell us or give people a warning of it because he didn't want to panic the American people. You don't panic. He panicked.
During a portion of the debate that focused on race relations, protest, violence and politicking, Trump tried to latch Biden to the violent and destructive elements of this summer's protest over the police killings of George Floyd in Minnesota, Breonna Taylor in Kentucky and others, even as Biden condemned violence.
With regard to being weaker, the fact is that I've gone head-to-head with Putin and made it clear to him we're not going to take any of his stuff. He's Putin's puppy. He still refuses to even say anything to Putin about the bounty on the heads of American soldiers.
Your son got three. We believe in law and order, but you don't. The top 10 cities and just about the top 40 cities are run by Democrats and in many cases radical left. And they've got you wrapped around their finger, Joe, to a point where you don't want to say anything about law and order. It's going to be a fair election. If it's a fair election, I am 100% on board.
For the Democrats, I'll be a president for Democrats and Republicans. And this guy,
I want to see an honest ballot cut.
Gentlemen, you say that's the end of it? This is the end of this debate?
The two candidates are scheduled to meet in 2 weeks on October 15th for the second debate in Salt City, Utah. But with that 5 days to the November elections, opinion polls, however, show that Biden has a single steady lead over Trump. Daniel Kariuki for Switch TV.
From the U.S. presidential debate, we take a short break. We'll be back with more. Talk to me on 111 444 111. Where are you watching us from? Be back with more. And welcome back. The government is cautioning Kenyans against overindulgence after the president eased COVID-19 containment measures in the country. Addressing the press earlier today, Health CIS Dr. Rashid Aman has lamented that already 2 Kenyans who are involved in a fight during a drinking spree in one of the drinking bars in Nairobi have died, a situation that he says might take back the gains that the country has attained so far. Fatma Ngwena with more.
And the prohibition against the sale of alcoholic drinks and beverages by ordinary restaurants and eateries shall stand vacated with effect from the 29th of September 2020.
2 days after the government reopened bars and eased some of the measures that were put in place months ago, the government is warning Kenyans that care should be taken in regards to some of the eased measures. Speaking to members of the Fourth Estate, Dr. Rashid Aman has condemned the behavior demonstrated by a section of Kenyans following the revision of containment measures by President Uhuru Kenyatta on Monday, and added that it is very dangerous for Kenyans to act unrestrained.
In fact, more than ever before, this is the time to take total and full control of our actions if we have to avert a second wave of this deadly virus. It is sad and alarming to note that just a day after His Excellency the President sanctioned the reopening of bars, 2 people died yesterday while fighting in a bar here in Nairobi.
Aman has said that the country has to maintain the curve that has been witnessed for the past 7 days by adhering to containment measures. Aman has also termed the strike of healthcare workers at Kenyatta National Hospital as unfortunate in the wake of a pandemic.
Nighttime curfew from 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. remains in force for the next 60 days. At the same time, protocols and guidelines in the transport sector are still in force. Our appeal is to those in the transport industry, that is buses, matatus, taxis, and boarders, to continue to adhere to the measures and guidelines issued to them by the Ministry of Transport.
The CAS has said that 151 new positive cases of COVID-19 were reported in the last 24 hours after 2,927 samples were tested. Fatma Ngwena, Switch TV.
Thank you, Fatma. Now, even as the COVID-19 virus continues to cause economic havoc in the nation, a group of teenage kids in Maji Mazuri Mwiki here in Nairobi have found a way to channel their energy into acrobatics. The crew has participated in acts here in East Africa and across the nation. Ivy Kavai reports.
As schools remain closed, students continue to enjoy their prolonged holiday. Children here in Mwiki often gather on this field, some to idle, some to play, but mixed up in this crowd is the Kasarani Mwiki acrobats. The group is incorporated with young children, the oldest 17, showcasing talents such as dancing and acrobatics. Started in 2018, the group is spearheaded by Emmanuel Ouma, a former acrobat who decided to take in kids from Mwiki and its environs here in Nairobi and grow their talent, which he believes is an opportunity they could use to turn their lives around.
Nimelelewa Children's Home Kibera Hamlet, mali nimelani hizi vitu acrobat, nilikuwa nazifanya zinanisaidia shule kila kitu. So vile nilikuja huku nilikuwa na kabiashara kangu, nilikuwa nafanya duka, then nikakuwa na idea kanikuja kwa kichwa juu huku nilipata hakuna hiyo kitu kama talents nini mta, nikaamua juu niko na talent ambayo pia mimi nilibarikiwa nayo, nianze kusanya watoto nikiwapea training hiyo acrobat. Okay, kwangu on my side mimi nilitoa hii kitu at least hawa watoto wetu hawa kwa hii age sasa ambayo watoto wako nini, wengine watapata vile watasaidika in life. Najua life imekuwa ngumu, mzazi pia kimtoto kwa nyumba 24/7 at least wameleta watoto wengi zaidi. Niko na watoto over 100 na mostly mimi ndio huka nao 24/7 from Monday to Sunday.
Although young, the group has been able to inspire and rewrite destinies. Tabitha Nyambura, a Form 3 student, admits that she could have been lost in youthful deceit had she not ventured into acrobatics. Eric, Dennis, and Brian are the youngest in this group.
Kwanza nilifanyanga ningi acrobat. Kitambo kabla sijaingia acrobat nilikuwa natumianga madawa za kulevya, nilikuwa na bad company, sikuwa nalalanga home, nilikuwa nafanyanga vitu mbaya. Yani sikuwa good example. Moda akakujanga kaniongelesha na nikaona ni poa juu sometimes hii acrobat inanisaidia, inanilipia fee, inanibaya school fee, inanilipia school fees, inanilisha kwetu.
Uko class
1 PP2.
PP2. Acrobat inakusaidia aje?
Vizuri. Kutufungia shule, kulipa school fees na kutulisha inatupeleka mbali zakatusaidia.
The talented crew, which got to the semi-finals at the East Africa's Got Talent, has big dreams for its future. Dedicated and hardworking, the group convenes here every day and puts in the work relentlessly.
Ile wakati wetu nilikuwa naona vile Kenya wanashughulikia hiyo, wanaenda mashindano. But for now najua tumeanza na young generation, hawa watoto wadogo ambayo bado yani hatujajua kama kunaweza kuwa, but mi naomba Mungu kama atatujalia tuonekaniwe pia sisi hapa as a team. Wao watu hii ndio generation ya kesho.
From what you've seen today, it is evident that we will be remembered only if we keep opening doors for the young generation of creators and performers. Ivy Kavai, Switch TV.
Thank you, Ivy. Now, with the rising incidences of cardiovascular disease here in Kenya, accounting to 13.2%, 25 kits of the Philips HEARTSTART defibrillators were donated earlier today to Kenya Red Cross Society as part of the Back to Rhythm campaign to improve the chances of survival of victims of sudden cardiac arrest. The defibrillators will be used in E+ ambulances and selected public spaces.
The devices that we've given are AEDs. AEDs are automated external defibrillators, and this can be used by non-medical personnel when someone is doing the CPR or cardiopulmonary resuscitation to help actually in restarting the heart.
So the idea is that we will distribute this, have some in the ambulances, but also have some in public spaces and also in some health facilities. So we'll distribute that in different places, also taking into account where some of the called the high burden is found. So we'll actually donate some of it to the Uasin Gishu County as well.
Fresh produce farmers plying the Moi South Lake route in Naivasha are using approximately 1.2 billion annually to car repairs as a result of deplorable roads conditions. The farmers have said they would save up to 31% if the roads were repaired. The Moi South Lake Road is a key transportation artery for the horticulture, tourism and energy establishments that are critical for Kenya's economy and are infrastructure intensive. Clifford Dombe with more details.
Touted as one of the roads that would spur the horticultural economy in Naivasha, the Moi South Lake Road is in a deplorable state, where farmers lose up to an average of 31% cost savings over the project period, which is approximated at 1.2 billion shillings of savings per annum.
Our flower farms and vegetable farms are currently incurring a lot of wear and tear, and there's a lot of time wastage. We have our cold chain infrastructure being strained and frustrated because of the bumpy road, and although the repairs have started going on, the thin layer is not going to be sustainable to help us to get this road proper.
According to projections by researcher Hezekiah Agwara, if the road won't be rehabilitated, then the poor conditions of the road diminishes competitiveness of existing businesses and dissuades investors.
We are aware that the road is currently under CARA and there are budget constraints that they have. So that is where we are putting this request again to government